This is Win the Day. My name's Jacob, and today we're going to be looking at the book of 1 Kings. What goes up must come down. That's the whole idea behind how roller coasters work. A lot of times, that's how life works too. So, how is it that we can keep going? Well, maybe we should really ask the question of what keeps a roller coaster moving down the tracks. I'm no scientist, but the simple answer is momentum. There has to be some greater force that keeps the roller coaster moving. This requires many ups and many downs. Roller coasters are what come to mind when I think about the book of 1 Kings. This book picks up where the story of Israel from 1 and 2 Samuel left off. Israel is now ruled by a monarchy of kings. And this book traces that line of kings from King David forward. There's a line of a few good kings, but mostly a string of bad kings. So there are many ups and many downs in this story of the nation of Israel. Times-wise, this book takes place around 560 BC. Now, some people that are mentioned in this book who are important would include King David himself, his son King Solomon, Rehoboam and Jeroboam, as well as the prophet Elijah. But how can we find Jesus in this story of 1 Kings? I believe that we can see many shadows to Jesus in King Solomon. King Solomon is known for having requested and received unparalleled wisdom, which led to a time of unparalleled blessing and wealth and glory for the nation of Israel. Solomon is the one who built the temple, a place where God's Spirit could come and dwell with His people. And for a time, he did serve the Lord. But even Solomon, in all his wisdom, was taken down by a heart that ran after idols. So we still need a king with even more wisdom who could overcome the desires of sin. And that is Jesus. Jesus told the Pharisees, something greater than Solomon is here. We find that in Matthew chapter 12, verse 42. So we can see that Jesus knows He is the new and the greater, the perfect King Solomon, who has come to allow God to dwell with His people forever. Now, one big thing that we should take from the book of 1 Kings is that sin divides. We were created to worship God with our whole hearts, yet continuously, humanity follows the pattern of refusing to follow God and worshiping idols instead. So we place our sinful desires ahead of God. And this tears us apart. This can be seen in 1 Kings as kings with divided hearts ultimately divide the nation of Israel into two separate kingdoms. This is summarized well when the prophet Elijah spoke to God's people on his behalf when he said in chapter 18, verse 21, Elijah went before the people and said, "How long will you waver between two options? If the Lord is God, follow Him. But if Baal is God, follow him." The people of God had been divided between idols and faithfulness. So there are many ups and many downs that ultimately result in bringing the nation of Israel to its knees as they failed to keep God's covenant and they failed to follow His lead. So for us, we must be careful not to divide our affections. We must serve God with our whole hearts. So may we learn from the examples of those who have come before us and not settle for the worship of false gods. For in idols there is only death, but in God there is life. So in this roller coaster of life, there will be many ups and downs. But what is the momentum that will keep us going? It's the Spirit of God. As we see from 1 Kings, sin divides and destroys, but still the line of kings from David is not completely defeated. The Spirit of God continues to move the story forward, ultimately leading to King Jesus, who, although He was brought low to death, He was also raised up to life.